9 podcasts.
Hello and welcome to AFLW Weekly. My name is Sarah Baird. I'm joined by the lovely Georgia Parker. How are you, George?
Hello, beautiful. I'm sad. The Crows, they're off their pedestal, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think they've gone down.
Oh, and you're looking all smug as a Blues fan.
I haven't said anything, but I'm feeling
You're
good.
looking smug. You've come in with an aura around you.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Yep.
It's where I sat for a while as a Crows fan in the W, but
For many years.
yeah.
I'm feeling very confident about the Blues, I have to say. I'd be shocked if we don't stay top 4. But anyway.
Watch, that could be the biggest moz of all time.
Yeah, that could end badly.
You did what I've done to Jazz Garner. She's not winning the best and fairest anymore. Ash Riddell's going to do that, and that was my fault. So,
Speaking of Ash Riddell, fantastic on the weekend, broke her own record, 45 disposals. I almost thought about not even mentioning it because we're just so used to seeing her do cool shit that she'll probably break next week again. She keeps breaking her own records too. It's not like it's a new person.
No, that's it. It's the consistency. Went through that a couple of weeks ago, and it's like it's also 40 the week before, 39. Oh, bad day, bad day.
Shocker.
And then in the wash of this, Jazz Garner's got like 30 and 4 goals, and it's like, Zippy Fish, 34 disposals as a first year player.
Well, I actually feel like we haven't mentioned Zippy Fish a lot for how amazing she is. I don't feel like we've discussed her enough because I think she's just been immersed into the tapestry of being at that level.
Oh, good.
We're just used to it.
Exactly. And the Swans, I guess, have dropped off a little bit.
They have indeed, which I would like to discuss because we thought that they were going to be real powerhouses at the start.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
yeah,
it's no longer the case.
Well, this is going to be what happened. I think kind of what I was saying last week about Port. Sometimes if good things happen to a young side, you can have you take your foot off 5%, and that's all that matters, I think, with this top kind of 10.
Yeah. Collingwood, I also think we had a couple of weeks ago actually, I said, I think Collingwood, maybe they're on here. They can start improving again. And they just seem to have slid back down, which is...
they don't have the depth. Doesn't help your captains out for a couple of weeks. She's missed, I think it's her 3rd game she's missed now. That doesn't help either. For a young side, you can't have any injuries to your senior experienced players on a young side. That's the problem with these young sides. The depth doesn't carry you through. So everything can be really good if it's good, but if one little thing knocks you up, whether it's within game or around the club... Collingwood. But, I mean, I'll put them to Wooden Spoon. They've won more games than I thought they'd win.
That's true. Speaking of Wooden Spoon, the Tigers had their first win, which I am going to dissect a little bit later in the pod, but very exciting for the league. Very good to see them get their first win.
Yeah, we need that.
Weird against the Crows, though. That was the total upset of the round.
Right. No, it's such an upset of the year.
Yeah.
It's 18th beating, what were they, 5th on the ladder? And not the only time. I mean, they've lost also earlier this year to Saints, and they're a side that's not used to winning, and that would hurt their ego. But also, think they've got themselves out of trouble a couple of times this season.
The Crows.
Yeah. So think about them. They were down by 5 goals or something, whatever it was, to Gold Coast, and had to have an Eb Marinoff special in the last quarter.
Yeah.
So you need consistent footy. So to be honest, yes, it's my team, and I'm annoyed. You don't want them losing to the 18th side, but it's a nice wake up to go, you actually can't be inconsistent. Stop it. Pull your head, play well.
Yeah.
For 4 quarters.
Play good footy.
For 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight up.
Straight up, baby.
And Courtney Hodder won the Q Clash medal, career high 4 goals in their 68-point win over the Suns. I mean, unsurprising that they won that game, but Courtney Hodder flies under the radar a bit.
Totally.
She is just an absolute machine.
She's brave, fast. Remember her mark of the year a couple of years ago? You will not see that if she was Nick Rewalt. How many times you've seen Nick Rewalt's run with the flight mark? That was what hers was. So brave, no self-preservation whatsoever a couple of years ago. And that's how she plays the game, I think. She's fast and tenacious. 4 goals was good. She's not had an All-Australian before, so it could be her first.
Which is bizarre.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Could be her first year for that, to go with her little mark of the year a couple of years ago as well. But Q-Clash and, Suns are in all sorts at the moment. So, again, young developing list with a shit ton of injuries that need to be looked at if they want to be getting themselves outside this bottom 4 realm.
All right, well, let's hear from Laura Spurway about what happened this round.
Hello, friends. Well, what a round of footy it was, headlined by Richmond's upset win over the Crows, their first W of the season, thanks to a clinic by Monique Conti and 3 goals to Ellie McKenzie. Skipper Katie Brennan also had her best game of the year, kicking 2. The back-to-back victories might be tough as the Tigers next play North Melbourne. And North, well, they were breaking more records. Ash Riddell with another all-time disposals high of 45. Ridiculous. In a 68-point win over the Swans in Launceston. The team also set a new record for inside 50s with 57 for the game. Jazz Garner kicked 4 goals and had 28 possessions. The Roos now with 20 straight wins. The Swans, they sit outside the 8. Carlton now sit inside the top 4 after beating Geelong at GMHBA Stadium. What a climb for them so far from their finish of 14th last season. Darcy Vesio immense in the final quarter, and captain Abby McKay having a day out in her return from injury with 31 disposals and 7 clearances. The Brisbane Lions dominated the Q-Clash, beating the Suns 83-15 as their coach Craig Starcevich notched up 100 games at the helm. Courtney Hodder won best on ground for her career-high 4 goals and 18 disposals plus 8 tackles. Dakota Davidson, though, turning heads when she yanked the hair of her opponent Mira Gervin, and that saw her fined $100 by the Match Review. The Saints made it 4 wins in a row with a 14-point victory over GWS, but it's going to be a tough back end of the season for them with more injury pain. Nicola Barr hurting her knee and Bianca Jacobson with an ankle issue. GWS second-year midfielder Caitlin Surhoy receiving a Rising Star nomination for a career-high 27 disposals and 8 tackles. And the Hawks are sitting pretty at 7-1, but will have to play without their skipper for a period of time after Emily Bates was sent for surgery. That's the week that was. I'm Laura Spurway.
George, let's get into our things that make you go,
Things that make you go, Things that make you go,
And this week you've got one for me.
Yeah, and the holding the ball interpretation at the start of the year was changed. The teams were notified of this. They changed their training around it, how they trained and how they would probably play. And now the way they're playing, I think the players are playing, I think, is negatively being impacted by this rule because players are actively not wanting to pick up that ball because the umpiring of this rule is so hot that they go, well, I don't want possession. No, thank you. And so they're not going head and under for the ball. That is not what this game is about.
No.
We want possession. We want players bursting through, trying to break tackles in a way that isn't, taking the piss of that, of giving them too much opportunity to remove. You want to reward tackling, but I think it's doing the opposite of what they're wanting because now no one wants possession.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this throughout and we've seen it happening. We're now about to hit round 9, so we've seen a lot of footy been played already. There was quite a few examples, and I know we're not a visual medium on the pod, but if you go back and look at some of the games throughout the weekend, there were times where you could literally see senior players stop and think, I'm not going to touch the ball because if I get tackled, I'm done. Like Vicky Wall, I saw did it. And that is very... It's
gamesmanship and it's using the rules to your advantage, but that's what you're taught as an athlete to go, all right, but
I don't blame them for doing that.
But that's not what we want.
But that's not how we want it structured.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
and
I agree with you.
So that's gamesmanship in terms of it's like letting the ball go out and going for the last touch rule. However, the aim of this rule was to be trying to have no stoppages, have free-flowing play, and instead now players go, oh, well, I'll just leave the ball there on the ground.
Well,
I'm not going to
collect it.
collect it.
Almost, in some ways, without it not being an actual stoppage, it is breaking the flow of the game because players are sort of dancing around the ball, just looking at it.
It's stupid. It is
It
so
looks
stupid.
clunky too.
And again, it's really then hard for I think it's being umpired differently from game to game, which is really frustrating as an athlete in any sport. You want continuity. And so if you can't get continuity in game to game, you want continuity from the umpires themselves. And I don't even think we get that. So it's really, really hard to be umpire. It's really hard for the players to decide, which is why they're not picking it up. And I think when it initially came in, we're like, oh no, like cool, there's less stoppages. Let's see how this plays out. And I think now we're eight rounds in. I think we're seeing that it's not actually doing what the intention was.
I think in our podcast in round 2, I think I said, this is working well, I like it.
Yeah.
But I think now we've seen the development of it, and because the umpiring of it has been inconsistent, I know you're going to chat about umpiring a little bit later on, I think a lot of people are just saying, I don't know how this is going to be adjudicated, so I'm just not going to even try.
Yeah, and I think that they might even be getting hotter on it, as in the umpires are calling it
definitely.
earlier. You think then, and again, AFLW is not AFL men's, but the men get a full 360 degrees before they can turn it, and our women don't even want to collect the ball. Like, we want this game to look similar and move similar. It's going to be different, but we want the ball to move similar because that's what's so great about this game. It's a fast, flowing, really attacking style of footy. Yeah, and so it's frustrating to watch, and I think that is something that's going to be watching on that to see if they do anything at the end of the year, and you hope that they listen and take some feedback on, and hopefully there is a better interpretation next year because I don't think any coaches like it either. Oh, that's a proper.
Well, on that, let's get into our L's and W's.
That's why I'm picky, cause I'm just too damn busy. Turn the L's into W's.
Our L stems from that. It is the general umpiring standard.
Oh, I just think that what is really frustrating for me being a fan of AFLW is feeling as though we're being used as testers. Whether it's testing a new rule, whether it's testing a time slot, whether it's whatever. Something that we can't be used as guinea pigs for is a standard of umpires. I do not want, in what is the top league of the country for the biggest sport in the land, in the country, to have developing umpires as the umpires for the top league. Can you imagine the opposite of that happening in the men's league, where you're having players, having umpires that are new to umpiring, that are really young and haven't had anywhere near enough experience. And then on top of that, throw in new rules every week.
Yeah.
Let's put in a new one, or let's take a change in interpretation. Make umpires, and I feel for these umpires because they're getting thrown to the wolves. They're young. They're really immature in terms of their maturity of umpiring age, really young. New rules that are really hard to adjudicate with a lot of interpretation for these young umpires again, and they're making error after error. And again, there's really simple errors. So, for example, I sent a clip through to us, a clear black and white rule of a ball not being given back to a Fremantle player by a Hawthorn player.
Yeah, that was bad.
It was a clear 50, drop the ball on the ground. Have a quick listen to what the commentators were saying.
And bounds on the forward will be a free kick to the Dockers.
That's 50. That's got to be 50.
Questions asked.
Can I just
And so that just cannot be happening at this level of footy. That is a black and white rule. So then if you're getting black and white rules, my goodness, God forsake, we're having these interpretation rules that are very grey as anything.
Yeah, and you can see from that why things like the holding the ball rule are just getting completely wrong, as you say. But I do feel for these younger umpires, because if you're looking at pursuing a job as an umpire and you get offered AFLW, that is a fantastic opportunity for you. You're not saying no to that, but I agree. They are being thrown to the wolves because we're talking about it on our podcast like this. But it's not fair, as you say, for people, and I have said this before actually, even in my own journalism career, I've heard other coaches about AFLW. I think Nathan Burke said it when he was coaching at the time. People will often say, oh, you work in AFLW.
Do you want to work in
when do you think you'll get to work in the men's? A, I do work in the men's. B, we are not a stepping stone into the men's game. We're a different game. We love it. We have love for it. We are here because we want to be here. And we're not using it as a training ground for anything. So umpiring shouldn't, I agree with you,
Be any
umpiring
different.
shouldn't be any different, particularly umpiring, I would say.
It's the integrity of the game,
Exactly.
the umpiring.
It's holding the whole network of the game together is how we umpire. And the other thing is we already get so much flack about the way people that don't watch AFLW a lot or aren't into it, people make comments of it's not as free flowing, it's not as high scoring, it's not blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, if we don't have the proper umpiring, how is anyone going to know? Like, you can kick a goal, it doesn't count as a goal. So, like, how would we even judge that?
Of course. And then they're just looking at the score as opposed to what's going on in that game.
And now the players are too scared to touch the ball. You can't get a goal if you don't touch the ball. So it's very different.
And that's coaching 101 with Sarah
That's
Burt.
the new AI of just like the ball hovers. But I that is something that really irks me is when people say we're going to use this as a bit of a training ground for the men's.
It's like offensive, I
It's
think,
very
to
offensive.
the league. And I get really angry about this because the AFL hold themselves to such a high standard and want to when it comes to the men, but aren't with the W. And why? Why? You want to be the best? We'll be the best in everything that you're putting out there. And the standard of umpire isn't. The same conversation comes along with the men in terms of like, oh, these men aren't up to standard. They then get kicked out and don't become umpires or don't get games, right? Can we not have that same? But we've been talking about umpires over both leagues for the eternity of the game. Oh, it should be full-time, should be that. Get them to be full-time.
Well, the umpires for the men's games were free this weekend. Like, there was no AFL on.
Oh,
So
exactly. Why aren't we
what are they
making
doing?
Why aren't we making them full time over the course of? There's a 9-month season. Then more than it's an 11-month season.
yeah, heaven.
Oh, it's just frustrating. And again, it's because I hold the AFL to such high standards.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a big L. What's yours?
My L is Dakota Davidson. She pulled.
Sorry, I've got something in my teeth.
That's okay. I didn't know if you were like physically recoiling to what I'm about to say or because I feel the same. I'm a big fan of Dax. I love the way she goes about it.
Good energy usually.
Great, good energy, great competitor, normally a fair competitor. And normally all she does is just try and use the art of distraction. But she got really physical and she yanked her opponent's hair and it actually
Icky.
looks quite violent. It's really yanked her neck. And I mean, we shouldn't see that in the game at all. We've seen it very occasionally in the men's game, but you'd have to think this is obviously going to go to match review. I think we need to take a hard stance on stuff like this because I don't want younger players to think that that's okay. And granted, we don't see a lot of that, which is probably why a lot of people are sort of so shocked by it. And I know that Dakota, who we've spoken to on the pod, I highly doubt that she's going to double down and say that she thinks that was good behaviour.
No.
But in the heat of the moment, you can't behave like that. It looked really grubby.
Grubby's the right word, and particularly when the standard AFLW fan, women, a lot of children, really bad look. It's the stuff that you do as little kids. It's not stuff you do as an adult. No, moments get the better of you. And I know Paddy Cripps is just a Bailey Smith, I think.
Yeah.
The difference is in the men's, there's not many long hairs to be pulling.
Yeah, well,
It's really not.
I mean,
and so
to be
I
fair,
think
Bailey actually does have quite long
No,
hair.
but of course, but I think like it actually needs to be treated with a little bit of a different light in women because there is more hair going around. There does need to be more duty of care to the chance of this happening in women is higher.
Yeah.
There's more ponytails getting put in your face.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a fine for Paddy Cripps, sure, but you don't want to be actively touching faces, heads, anything above of the women. I think it's gross. I think it's bad look. And so, like, I wouldn't even be angry if that was a week.
No, I think it should be at least a
more
week.
than a fine, because I think a fine, people go, oh, you get away with a fine for that. Precedent's been set. You know, and again, you hope that people don't do that in the moment, but
I don't know if it's just because we're women, but I was sitting there and I was like, oh, that feels like quite catty.
I was about to say the word catty. And
I was like throwing me back to, I never got my hair pulled at school, but throwing me back to like catty high school days. Like I was like, Dax, you're a good enough player to not have to do that.
No, I completely agree with you. It's an ugly one. Ugly one. And it'll be sent, and by the time this pod's out, we'll know the result for that. But I don't like it. What's your big W there, girlie?
My big W, we've already...
Big W.
Big W.
Action for came up.
That'd actually be so good. If just a sponsorship from Big W. We've already touched on it. Tigers had their first win. Upset of the round.
Yeah.
You said upset of the season. 11-point win, so solid win. They've never defeated the Crows before. 58 points. It's their highest score of the year. And actually, it's the second highest score ever conceded by the Crows. So not only was it a great win for the Tigers, there was actually like some real stats behind that. Ellie McKenzie, 24 disposals, 5 marks, 6 clearances, 3 goals. Moncon, 34 disposals, 10 tackles, a goal, 5 clearances. Katie Brennan, 4 marks, 2 goals. Like these kind of stats, that's a winning side with those kind of stats. You do look at the stats of the rest of the players, and I feel like those 3 really did carry them. But a win's a win.
And they're players that probably haven't had the seasons that we're used to seeing from them.
Particularly Katie Brennan.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens the older you're getting, right? And you're getting more athletic defenders against you if you're not able to move, and then you're not getting the ball popped on your head if your midfielders aren't getting free possession either. So I can understand that, but it's not when you're having the big players stand up and then you're getting a win, it reminds you why they're the big players.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good old days of having Moncon just absolutely.
Well, she
rip it
used to
up.
win games off of her own boot. She'd go and kick 3 and have 28 and 12 tackles. But her defensive game was superb, I think, as well. And you never think you're probably winning, as in you never can take your foot off against the Crows because they turn a game on the dime and get out of trouble.
Yeah.
So I really like their defensive game here.
What was interesting, I was watching the W debrief on Fox Footy yesterday, and Eb Marinoff was their guest, and she obviously had come straight off the game onto the couch, and she said she wasn't actually, I don't know if she was just trying to be diplomatic, but she said she wasn't actually surprised at all that the Tigers had felt like they were sort of knocking on that damn wall, and that she wasn't actually shocked.
Was Randall playing?
No.
Randall wasn't playing when they lost the game against Saints either. So that is worrying for me because Chelsea would be mid-30s now. You can't be so reliant on one player to be the key reason you're winning or losing. And also you need some youngers to be able to step into that place of an aging player.
I take that and I raise you though, like people like Eb, Hatchie,
Defender
Caitlin
though.
Gould.
Defender though.
And yes, you're right. When you look at the way that the Tigers played, that's what won it for them.
And then they get their 58 points, which is Crows have never a second highest of conceding sort of thing. So while I completely agree with you, Ed Marinoff can be the leader and things like that, having your general, it's in a men's game, Tom Stewart being out for the Cats.
Yeah.
When have these players, because what Chelsea can do is she's able to create scoring opportunities from how she plays the ball out of defence, as well as sort her defenders and generals around her. So losing a really key general defender is so big when it comes to in any sort of game, but I think particularly in the W because they're usually lower scoring. And again, like I said, the trend is that they lost her.
Yeah.
the games they're losing is Chelsea.
And
so
although
you then play against that. Go, let's do a forward tag on Chelsea. Let's even if she is playing, let's not let her get the ball.
Have you got a W for this week?
Yeah, I've got a W, and it's actually kind of coming off the back of that. And Sarah Black, a brilliant journo for the particular W space, and she put out a tweet, and she goes, 18th defeating 5th is the perfect example of what she's been banging on about. North aside, the AFLW is closer than ever. And I agree with that. If you look at the jumps from some team out of the 8, Melbourne, for example, coming into second, it can be really anyone's game. The fact that, Saints have beaten the Crows, I think at the start of the year, we said it'll be North, then it'll be Daylight, then it'll be Brisbane and Adelaide, then it'll be Daylight. That's gone now. I think that the teams are either working them out, the depth from the draft is coming through and helping. And while I don't think there's consistency from probably 6 to 12, the ability to beat any team they have. So Saints is a good example of that. Their good's really good. Port's example of that. Their good's really good. Their bad's really bad. That's a young side. So I think that's a really exciting place for the W to be in. North, I like that they're going to be so good, but it's hard to watch in a way because you go, well, how are they ever going to be bad with the way that us as a league move players around because the tier system doesn't allow for much moving in that way because there's no real incentive to leave. You go, why would I leave if I'm going from tier 2 to tier 2 or tier 3 to tier 3? Might as well stay at a good club. So you don't want to leave, which is from a good culture in a way. But I get worried about that, how that's going to change, how North is going to change. But I really like that these middle grounds teams are all starting to do it. And again, the other bad thing I like about that, though, is that the top 4 is probably going to be decided of who played North Melbourne or not. If you played North Melbourne, you're not in the top 4. If you didn't, you're going to be in the top 4. Melbourne example of that, Yeah. Ah, well.
Even if you end up in the grand final against them, I mean, you're probably going to lose. So.
You're just doing everything. You'd be doing everything you can to avoid them in a prelim.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's all you're doing.
Correct.
Well, so everyone will be fighting for that second spot.
We haven't seen Melbourne play them, so that might be the big old.
So that's my W. I really, really like that.
All right, let's get into our interview this week. We are lucky enough to have Tilly Lucas-Rod chatting to us. Tilly's become a cornerstone of the Hawthorn AFLW side, tough, reliable midfielder and very much respected leader, known for their consistency on the field. As the team and the league prepares for Pride Round, this is the first year that we've got 2 Pride Rounds so that every team has the opportunity to wear their Pride jumper at a home game, which I love. Tilly will once again take the field not only as a competitor but as a proud advocate for inclusion and visibility in sport. Tilly's done a lot of great work in that area and is very vocal about what it means to them. So we are very lucky to have Tilly here to talk about what Pride Round means to them, how the team's growth has evolved across the year, and what drives their passion for football and representation. Tilly Lucas-Rod, thank you so much for joining us today. We know you guys are in the thick of a very, very busy time, obviously about to hit 9 rounds of AFLW. You guys have been flying. How are you going so far?
Yeah, I think being 7-1, it's a pretty good spot to be in. You can't really ask for much more. So, we're pretty happy. We've had a lot of close games and tough wins, I think, which prepares you well for what's to come in the back end and then finals. So, yeah, we're feeling pretty good.
So 7-1, they probably haven't been. Your win column though is the one that you were talking about. Have you felt though that the games have been a little bit tougher? Last year we saw such freedom in how you played. Have you felt as though you've had such freedom on the field? Because the score probably haven't been reflecting that, but it doesn't really matter because the wins are there. But how have you felt playing in them?
Oh, definitely not. Last year, I feel like, it was really free-flowing, fast football, exciting to watch, high scoring. I guess the ultimate like hawk ball that people say. And it definitely hasn't felt like that this year. I think other teams have gone to study our game plan and they've kind of learned how to negate some of our ball movement. And then on top of that, like on the weekend we played at Frankston and the winds were 60 kilometres an hour. Yeah. So how good can the product be in those conditions? So there's a bunch of different factors. But I think, as I said, the hard, tough wins where it's really contested is kind of like what finals footy is. So it is preparing us well for what's to come. But we would like to play more free-flowing, fast football. So we're trying to get there.
We were just having a discussion about the interpretation of the holding the ball rule. Is that something that you guys have noticed so far?
Oh, definitely. I think from the start of even in pre-season, the umpires came in, they did some education and they talked about how it's going to change. And you've kind of seen it evolve throughout the rounds. It depends what game you're watching. It's umpired a bit differently, so you're never quite sure.
We also talked about that.
Never quite sure, and I think like some of our players, like Emily Bates, was probably one of the most affected at the start of the season with the new rule and how many calls she had go against her. But it's something we've spoken about. But I know in the back line, our coach, our defensive coach, is really big on still win the footy first. Like, don't be worried about being second to the ball and tackling. Like, she still wants us to go and win the ball. So I try not to think about it too much when I'm actually playing.
Yeah, I guess that's really nice to hear because we feel as though sometimes people aren't going for that. Did you guys train the rule in the pre-season coming into it? How was your difference in interpretation of what you thought it was going to be like to what it actually is? Is there much of a difference or probably pretty similar?
I think, we did train it. I think the big thing has been like when you think you've got your arms pinned and can't get rid of it, the umpires still think you've got an opportunity. So we went back. and watched a bit of tape and trained it more on the fact that even if there's a little bit of wriggle room with one arm, you must make an attempt. So we definitely, have worked on that and trying to drop the ball onto your foot and different like little tactics you can try and use. But it hasn't worked too well so far for us.
You need that little hand that you used to bring around, George. That tiny little hand. You need almost an extra hand to
Whip
be
it
able
out
to.
from your top. Whip it out. You're sitting at the club there and you've got some Indigenous artwork behind you, but we're leading into Pride Round, which is something that's pretty close to AFLW in general. How special is this round for you particularly?
Yeah, I always love Pride Round. I always say it's like my favourite part of the footy calendar. I was lucky enough to pretty much have been in them since the start as well, because when I was at Carlton, there was one game between Carlton and Bulldogs, so I've always kind of been a part of it. And I think it's huge. Just, you get to embrace all people, whoever they are, however they show up, and you get to create a really, I guess, loving and welcoming atmosphere at football, which isn't always the case, especially for the queer community. So I think it's amazing to be able to do that.
Well, I was reading through the AFL broadcast guide this morning, and they were talking about the theme for Pride Round, for the 2 Pride Rounds this year, and they were saying it's more about just making sure that everyone in the community feels like they are welcome. That is what you just said, but that's their main focus for this year. You have had top surgery recently, and I believe the last sort of 8 months or so. Obviously, that must be something really close to your heart to know that you can come to the game that you love and be absolutely accepted for whoever you are.
Definitely. I think that, I got top surgery back in January. So that was a big thing for me, is how would I recover, and then how would I guess, be accepted back into not like Hawthorn Football Club, but I guess the broader playing landscape of the AFL. And I felt totally comfortable and embraced internally within my team in the AFL. So I'm really lucky for that. But I do think, especially for trans and gender diverse people, sport is not always the most welcoming place. So I think, I really like that. That is the theme this year, is about embracing all individuals and making sure that they have a place in sport.
And I think the place in sport is in W sport particularly. You just spoke about being comfortable coming back after top surgery, but you've spoken about how you felt very uncomfortable in the uniforms and things. How have you found this year? Have you felt that you've been able to play a little bit freer since having top surgery in the uniform? You've gone from a medium to a small, I saw in your top.
Yeah, previous years I would play in a binder, which is definitely not something I recommend, and I'm sure no physios or medical professionals recommend that. But it basically, it was this tight compression vest, and then I would wear a jumper that was too big in a medium to try and feel comfortable, because the uniforms are really tight. They're like a rash vest material almost. So I'm heaps more comfortable this year. As you said, I've gone down a size. I put the medium on photo day, and I was like, this is way too big now. So back in a size small, which is nice, and I just feel way more comfortable, and I just feel more like me, and I think that hopefully shows on field that I'm just a lot more comfortable and free to be.
Be you, exactly right. Well, and you have been having a great season so far. So it does show on field, like you just said. It seems like you guys have got a really good connection. I know you said it doesn't feel like the hot ball from last year, but you're obviously still doing very well. How has it been with Dan Webster? He's been at the helm a couple of years now. How are things feeling amongst the coaching group between you guys as well?
Yeah, I think from Webby coming in, he came in with fresh game plan and fresh ideas. And I think having the first season last year and then being 12 months, a year and a half on from then, now I guess you just learn more about what he wants, whether it's you as an individual in your role or I guess the whole team as a game plan. And we feel super connected to him, and then also our line coaches. I think that everyone's just on the same page and we understand what's required of us. And I think you see that, especially as a defensive unit. I think as a back six, we're really connected, and we're really proud of, I guess, the work we do and how connected we are on field.
We've been talking how this year is the first of probably many super drafts coming through of the kids that have had the genuine Auskick progression through to AFLW. Have any of the youngsters come in with this sense of confidence and that probably you haven't seen before? You've been around for a while.
Oh, definitely. I think that it's just young people in general. They have this swagger and confidence about them. I don't know.
We're laughing because we know what you mean.
Yeah, it's this aura that young people nowadays have, but I love it. I fully embrace it. I think, yeah, it's this draft year now, but even I was watching the game yesterday and Ella Roberts I think she took like 3 bounces and took like 4 people on, and I was like, I would never dream of doing that. Like, I don't have that confidence. But these people that have been playing, as you said, from Auskick, these young players are just incredible footballers and athletes. So I love that. I love the energy that they bring.
Yeah, we talk about, like we joke about how young kids probably have this confidence in general, particularly in this draft, but it's probably something also that we've seen in the development of the league. They come into a really established league, and you've been around for so long that you've seen so many different progressions and different iterations of the way AFLW is run. You've seen, I don't know, like 5 or 4 different time slots of the season and so many different things like that. These guys are coming into a really, really established league, and it almost feels like they don't have to wrestle with that sort of stuff. And although they are a fantastic crop, you guys have done a lot of the heavy lifting in making sure that there is this established product for them to come into. When you look back to particularly your Carlton days, how are you feeling now when you look back at how far we've come?
Yeah, I think that's a huge one. Even if I think back to Carlton, I think we paid like $10,000 and you lost some of it to tax and then some of it to your private health. So you were basically being paid.
Oh, yeah, you're forced to do private health and you're like, we got no money.
That's so bad.
So yeah, like now these kids coming in and they're paid like a pretty good salary for people that mostly live at home. But I think the game's grown immensely in terms of like the hours we're here now, the level of coaching and the resourcing that clubs put in. You know, you have physios all the time. You have a doctor at every session. So the resourcing around a program is so strong now. And I think that's shown in how the product's being able to grow. And now you have people that don't need to work other jobs. They can just be full-time athletes. So I think it's huge. And I think the players in the league and the product will only benefit more for, I guess, the more resourcing that's put back in.
Well, it's Pride Round, which is all about inclusion. How have you felt the inclusion at a club has been from when you're first getting into a club, and these men have probably never, ever shared this space with anyone other than a bunch of men. How have you felt that they've transitioned into sharing the space and accepting anyone else to be playing this wonderful game? Have you felt that's changed a bit?
Yeah, definitely. I think that especially like at Hawthorn, we only came in for this is our 4th year. So the men also got to, I guess, the whole club here got to kind of watch how other teams did it and other clubs did it, and then have their own, which probably helped a little bit. I think here at Waverley, we're not in our new facilities yet. So Waverley, we're pretty small, so everything's shared. But yeah, our club's been great. I think the men have fully embraced us. You know, we've had, whether it's like things like crossover with trainings or coaches, like Jack Gunston used to help coach us. Sam Mitchell's always around the program trying to help us like have little tricks. He's one of the greatest players, and yeah, his skills are some of the best of all time. So Sam Mitchell's always there trying to help us as well and teach us little tricks. So yeah, I think I didn't probably see that when I first started. But now, yeah, clubs are a lot better at, I guess, aligning and making it a one club approach.
I think it helps when you win the McClellan Trophy and you get to put in $1 million back into the club. I think they'd be very happy with you guys then.
Yeah, trying to go back to back with that.
You're at the front at the moment, aren't you now?
Yeah, I think by a point or two. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Watch this space.
Watch this space. Watch
Watch
this
this
space.
space.
Well, Tilly, thank you so much for joining us. We're so appreciative for everything you do for the Pride community. We know you're so open about your journey, and we are absolutely so lucky to have you as part of our community here. And we can't wait to watch you guys continue to smash it out this season.
Good luck.
Sweet. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
All right, Birdie, who we're keeping tabs on this week, all brought to you by Tab. And I think we had the girls having their 100 milestone for games, last week, a week before? Well, we're about to get to the race to 100 goals, the first person to get 100 goals. So we're going to keep tabs on, well, it's either going to be Kate Hoare, who's on 95 goals, Jazzy Gardner after her 4-goal week and just gone is on 94 goals. Gemma Houghton, Daniel Ponta both on 89. Then goes down to Katie Brennan on 81, Jess Wardlaw on 79. So you're thinking that, you know, Jazz Garner or Kate Hoare could easily get this in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so this is a keeping your tabs on. Jazzy Garner could get it next week, knowing how she plays
Don't
sometimes.
jinx Jazzy.
Oh, God. Watch your ankle. Okay, I'm going to get out of this seg because I don't want to put the mods on anyone. We've all brought to you by Tab.
Okay, let's look ahead to what games we are covering this weekend. 3AW will be at the Western Bulldogs versus Essendon on Friday night at Whitten Oval. And then on Saturday, Adelaide Crows versus West Coast Eagles, 1 o'clock at Norwood Oval, Adelaide. I imagine you'll be watching that one closely, George.
100%. The Eagles, doing this for Daisy, aren't they? She's an incredible coach, isn't she? Adelaide wanting to bounce back. I wouldn't want to be Eagles coming into this game against Crows. I think that they'll be an angry side, and angry sides who are good and can play very well. But then I think this one's one you're most looking forward to. And it's Sydney Swans and Carlton Sunday at Henson Park, the new home of women's footy, I think.
Goes off
and
there.
Carlton could prove that they are going to be one of the contenders. Swans have the opportunity, though, to say, no, we're still here. They've lost 4 on a trot. Could it be 5 wins or 5 losses?
Yeah, this is the game of the round for me because, as you say, both of these teams have something to prove. I mentioned earlier I feel like Swans have lost it a bit. Earlier on in the season, I thought that they were absolutely going to be hot contenders, but they seem to have really dropped off. The Blues are really showing themselves that they belong in the top 4, in my opinion. That's not me being
Oh, that's
biased.
it. But do you know what? Their club needs it. I'll give it to you. Your club needs it.
We just need a win. But I will definitely have my eyes glued to that one. I think that will be a really exciting one for the league in general.
100%.
Thank you so much for listening to AFLW Weekly. Please follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Insta and get involved with AFLW Weekly. We are always very happy to hear your feedback. Aren't we, George?
Sometimes. Depends on the mood. Depends how much sleep I've had, if I'm hungry. Might go have a nap and have something to eat now.
Okay, well, you go have a nap and then we'll get some feedback. Thanks
See you
so
next
much for
week.
listening.